Hello, people loved by Christ. Pastor Matt Clark here from Ascension Lutheran in South St. Louis, where we are reading through the epistles of the New Testament in the course of 1 year. And we invite you to join us on that journey. You can check out that reading schedule in our news and notes here at church or on our church website, ascensionstl.com. This past week, we read through Hebrews chapters 7, 8, and 9. So, wanted to make a few comments on that. Last week's video mentioned how Jesus is our high priest and this order of Melchizedek. And I said that we would talk more about Melchizedek this week, and that's because the writer of Hebrews certainly talks more about Melchizedek in our chapters this week. So who is this Melchizedek guy anyway? So it's an Old Testament figure. And after Abraham fights this battle and has the spoils and plunder, he then gives a tenth of it to Melchizedek, and he shows that Melchizedek is superior to him, right? The person offering the gift is inferior to the one the gift is given to, right? So this Melchizedek is a mysterious figure. There's a few verses about him in the Old Testament. We know that he is both priest and king of Salem, but that's about it. We really don't know where this individual comes from. He just sort of appears there in the narrative and then he kind of disappears. That's about it. But the writer of Hebrews, boy, really picks up on this Melchizedek figure and talks about how Jesus then is a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, the high priests typically were from the tribe of Levi, this Levitical priesthood in the Old Testament times, and even stretching then into the New Testament times when Jesus walked the earth. And these high priests would circulate in, right, as they would die. A new one would have to be appointed, of course. They would offer sacrifices for themselves, and then they would offer sacrifices on behalf of the sins of the people. And that's how God had set things up. But now something and someone even better is here, a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek, and that, of course, is Jesus. So how is Jesus better? Well, first of all, he's a high priest forever. The other high priest, their time of service would come to an end, but not Jesus. He is that high priest that represents us before God the Father, interceding for us even, and he is forever, right? Jesus will live, reign, serve as that high priest forever and ever on our behalf, which is incredible. The other way that he is superior is that Jesus, unlike the other high priests, is without sin. So those other high priests had to offer sacrifices, animal sacrifices for their own sins, and then also on behalf of the people and their sin, but not Jesus. No, his sacrifice as high priest is for just us. Jesus is the sinless one who lays down his life on our behalf. How selfless, right? And what great love he has for us, for sure. And then another way in which Jesus is unique is that high priest in the order of Melchizedek is in the sacrifice itself. That Jesus is both high priest, but he's also the sacrifice, right? He is the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. So in his death on the cross, Jesus is the sacrifice. That comes up in our hymns a little bit. One hymn in particular talks about how Christ is the victim and Christ the priest. Hallelujah. So he's both. He's both the priest who gives that sacrifice, and he's the victim who sheds his blood on the cross for the sins of the world. So there you go. Just a few points to consider as we read those chapters in Hebrews, and maybe reread them a little bit with those points in mind, how Jesus is a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. God's blessings as you continue then in your reading of